What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to predict the review scores for Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. So we're just a little bit over a week away from the game releasing. I'm a little bit even further out from when I'm recording this, but nonetheless, I get more and more excited as the days go on. I really am pumped for this game. I really think this game can be quite good, and I guess don't let that fanboyism, because it's not really, don't let that get in the way. I want to talk about what I think critics are going to be rating it, but I also want to talk about what they're going to be saying about the game. What are going to be some of the headlines that we see for Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart? We'll go over the review score for the last game, Ratchet and Clank 2016. So if you guys are new or if you haven't already, make sure as always you guys are subscribed, bell icon turned on so you know all these videos go up. And if you really like my stuff, I do have a second channel. I do one video a day, just a daily video over there. It's called Podcast Now Plus. A link for it is always in the description below. Okay, we go back in our time machines to April 12th, 2016. Ratchet and Clank for the PS4 has just released. I don't know why I'm still kind of keeping that voice. But again, 85 on Metacritic, 101 critic reviews. And this is actually scary in, I guess, a positive way, because it never happens, is that the critics lay almost exactly with the user scores. The user scores is 8.4, just 1 point off, or 0.1, based off of a 2,216 rating. So I really do look at that as a baseline, because I think one of the things that I'll be honest, again, like I said, I'm very excited for this game, Rift Apart. I cannot wait. I think it can be a game of the year contender. The one thing that does worry me just a little bit is how much can the story and the characters kind of elevate this game. Like, the game is, no doubt about it, going to like Demon Souls is really nice to look at, but I really think Ratchet and Clank will probably be the best put together in terms of visuals, in terms of how it runs, in terms of how it performs, in terms of the DualSense working with everything. Like Astro's Playroom is the best game for a DualSense. Returnal is also a really good game for the DualSense. It's also very good for like loading, okay, or like procedural generation. Demon Souls, I would say, like visually, it's just like astounding how much better it looks. But like Ratchet and Clank, I really think can be the king. And so why do I say that? Well, that is, I would say, the most guaranteed you got at that aspect of the game. I think the game is going to be really good in that regard. So the positives I could see this game constantly, saying, or people saying about this game, is that the visuals, the performance, the loading, going from one, basically, a dimension, right, into another one in literally a fraction of a second. It's going to be incredible. And those things, by the way, they do matter. I really do believe they matter. I mean, like, would you still play it if you had to wait a couple seconds to load? Yeah. But the fact that you don't, I think is a slightly big deal. I don't think it's the reason why you buy the game, but I think it's something to talk about. It's something to absolutely praise Insomniac for, right, and Ratchet and Clank for. So I think all that's going to be good. It really comes down to how much they push the envelope forward in terms of story and in terms of gameplay. So Ratchet and Clank has, I think it's generally been well received, okay? It's never been, I don't think they've had an atrocious game, okay? There's definitely been some better than others, but they've always had a relatively solid package. With me, it's just going to be the new character. How does she do? Is she different enough from Ratchet, okay? And that's a gameplay thing too, right? But also, is her personality okay? And then do they do anything kind of interesting with the story? And like, to me, the story is kind of what concerns me the most, because I've never been attached to the story. I would say if there's anything I don't care about in terms of Ratchet and Clank, it is probably the story. The characters I care about. I think they've made some really, really funny characters, really dynamic characters, really interesting characters. I think they've done a really good job in that respect. So I'm very excited to see Ratchet, Clank, like all these characters, even some of the villains, right? I'm excited to see these characters again. So I really think, to me, it comes down to how much do they push forward the gameplay, and then how much do they push forward the story. And an interesting thing too is, like, right, the last game, okay, this, Ratchet and Clank 2016, 5 years ago, but like, so I don't know exactly how Insomniac works. I wonder if anybody truly does, because clearly they've got different studios there, but I don't know if we've ever known how many in particular and when they start certain things. But I do believe this Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart didn't start right away after that 2016 version. So while it has been 5 years, I don't think they've been working on this game for 5 years. And I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, definitely, correct me in the comments. But, does that mean anything is actually the question. Like, I'm not saying it as a negative thing, like, oh, if they put 5 years into it, obviously it's going to make such a big deal. I don't honestly No, and that's going to be a thing. Like, did they work on it for, I imagine they've done it at least for like 3 years, maybe a little bit more. I'd say 3 years is kind of the minimum, but, what does that actually do to the game? In terms of a prediction, I'm going to up the score of that game. I'm going to use that game, honestly, as a baseline because I think Rift Apart is probably going to be relatively close to it. I will say, I'll give myself like a low range. I'll say 86 to 89 is what I think the review score for Rift Apart's going to be. Honestly, I think we're still, this is kind of like to predict journalists too, I think we're still early enough in the PS5 and even the Series X, if only they had games that actually released in the first year, which they will after that, but, first year's been rough. I think we're early enough in where there can almost be brownie points in terms of like technical performance. So like a game like Astro's Playroom, a game like Returnal even, they really get, I would say Returnal specifically, probably gets extra points that it wouldn't get 2 years down the line. If it came out in 2 years, I don't think it gets certain points because we're kind of all used to it. Whereas right now we say, okay, well, it's one of the only games using the DualSense in this way. The loading, we're still kind of unfamiliar with just how fast the loading, can be. The visuals, this is one of the most impressive, I'm talking about Returnal, one of the most impressive, visually looking games. No, I'm not. I actually really like Returnal. It's in my top 3 games of the year, a Game of the Year contender of this year, so I'm not bagging on it, but I'm saying releasing early has its benefits because of these kind of brownie points that maybe inadvertently, even by myself, now I'm not even criticizing journalists, I think a lot of people give those out. So I would say what I'm basically trying to say with Rift Apart is even if the story is a little bit weaker, even if the gameplay isn't all that innovative, which I do think it looks definitely solid from what we've seen, I haven't been blown away by the gameplay, like what we're actually doing, more or less the visuals and all that stuff. So if that stuff kind of lacks, I think how good it looks, how good it feels, how well it runs, all that kind of stuff. I really think that could, especially early on, 6 months after the PS5 release, I think that can still help the game out. So I will say it's going to do a little bit, my prediction at least, I think it'll do a little bit better than the previous game. So let me know, guys, in the comments below, what do you think? What do you think journalists are going to be saying about this game, both, good or bad? What review rating do you think this game is going to get on Metacritic? Definitely let me know. As always, make sure, again, you guys are subscribed, bell icon. I'm going to be covering, it comes out like 2 days before, actually, no, it comes out the day before E3, so that definitely sucks in terms of me covering it, but I do plan on covering it. I don't know about daily videos, but there'll definitely be many videos on Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart when the game is out, so make sure you guys stay tuned for that. Make sure you guys are subscribed. Subscribe to the second channel that could definitely, there's some Ratchet and Clank videos that could very well make its way over there as well. Again, link for that is also in the description below. Thank you for watching, guys, and I hope to see you all on the next video.